Today on the Nerdy Gritty, our PAX cast. No pod, all PAX.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I'm Fox.
I'm Dez.
I'm And. You finally have met me.
Yep, he's our silent third brother. Now, we have our friend Chris with us here today, who accompanied us to PAX this weekend, and we are very happy to have him.
Yeah.
So welcome to you.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
Yep.
I am glad to be here.
Yeah. So we have been at PAX for 3
days
days now.
now.
Got one more day tomorrow.
The podcast releases on Monday, and
Yeah.
also it's like Monday is PAX, so we have 3 days of PAX. That we're
Yeah,
gonna be
this
talking about
might
today.
go up Tuesday depending on available. Anyway, whatever. We're going to put it up as soon as we can. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about is, as Des mentioned, all PAX. We
That's
got a
right.
lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about some of our favorite games, some cosplay we've seen, some cool stuff like that.
The
but
convention
also,
in general.
we're going to get into kind of the convention details and just kind of things that we've noticed being here for a couple of years and just kind of how different companies do things. So looking forward to that. But I'm going to kick the conversation right off here. Let's start with just real simple. Hey, what's been, maybe your favorite one or two games that you've played so far? Chris, let's have you go first.
Oh, thank you.
The newbie.
No, you got it? Are you ready?
No, I need to think for a second.
Okay,
actually.
all right, fine.
I figured. That's fair enough.
So unprofessional, I regret
It's mostly
this.
I just have to recall titles because we
Yeah,
played
we've-
so many.
we've played
like,
a lot of games.
And name keeping isn't my strength.
Yeah,
so it's just
absolutely.
like
That's really fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pick one from indie and one from AAA. I'd say the AAA one, and probably so far my game of PAX, we have not played the Final Fantasy VII remake
It's
yet.
true.
I want to be clear.
He's
That has
leaving
not happened
space
yet.
for that to be the best one.
Absolutely. But thus far, I think my game of PAX is Code Vein. It's a Bandai Namco game that's going to be coming out in a while, and it's very like Soulsborne, much more in the Bloodborne-esque area, a lot more fast
Yeah.
combat, but definitely in the resource collecting. If you die, the resources stay there. You got to collect it, but unique enough, you get a companion. The aesthetic is way different. There's some like skills that you get that are way different as well. Unique enough to really set itself apart. As somebody who is currently playing Bloodborne for our channel, it was really cool and really fun to play. Excuse me. Indie game probably that I've enjoyed the most to play personally. No, I'm even then. I'm actually just gonna swap and jump right into what I've seen you guys play. And I watched you guys play Pray for the Gods, and that was probably my favorite indie game that I've seen so far.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Man, it took some
was
of
a lot of
the fantastic aesthetics and gameplay of Shadow of the Colossus. In fact, you could even call it a Shadow of the Colossus clone, but in the best way.
Like a shadow clone jutsu?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But in the most complimentary way, like not just like, this is a Shadow of the Colossus
Yeah,
clone.
whatever.
Yeah, no, like nobody's done anything like that in years, and this game is phenomenal just to watch you play.
You know what they call that? It's not a rip-off, it's an homage.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very much homage.
Yeah.
But it does have other new elements in there
sure.
as well.
Mhm.
That was
That's
really
why it's an
interesting.
homage.
Absolutely. So, really, really good game to check out as well. So, yeah, those are going to be my two games so far.
Yeah. I'll jump in here, and best for me so far, best AAA was Borderlands 3. So much fun. Not only did I've been pumped to play it since they announced it and since Borderlands 2 came out, but not only was I pumped to like play the game, but it like made me want to buy a pair of headphones, like good over-the-ear headphones, because the sound of this game while playing it was so
Yeah,
good.
the sound quality of the game itself
Yeah,
is top notch.
Like specifically the gunfire just felt super punchy. Like it just felt like it was solid in my ears while I have all these voices, these comical, one-liners being tossed out there. But that was just cool. But also just the whole game itself, classic Borderlands gameplay just taken up another notch. Like the jump between Borderlands 1 and 2, this feels like that. Maybe less of a big jump between quality, I'd say, but still improving on that formula. You have a lot of, super vibrant neon colors, which is always fun. It made Rage 2 look like a wannabe Borderlands game, unfortunately, for Rage 2. But yeah, this has been really fun. It was really fun to play. Plus, that booth was really great because we got a bunch of merch, including a free T-shirt. And if you give me a free T-shirt, I'm gonna like your game
Yeah,
more.
I'll like your game more. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not a
yes.
lot, but more. Indie games. I played a bunch of those also, and man, I'm trying to come up with one right off the bat. I played a game. I'll just come up with one that I played today. Maybe it's not my favorite, but one I'll throw out there would be. Well, can't even remember the name of that one, huh?
How does it
This
Which
is
one
a
was it?
excellent podcast. The one we played in the Team 17 area. The first one that I
that's
played.
Blood.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Berserk. But
Nope. Something to do with sins or something like
man,
that.
how do we not remember the name of
we
this
played
game?
so many
it was
games.
really cool though.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just point out the indie booth or the indie mega booth. There's just so much good stuff in there. I love the wide variety of games that they have available, and just the quality. Pray for the Gods again was really fun. Lots of good. Oh, I'm gonna point out one that you played.
Yeah.
Backbone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If we're gonna play one that I point out the one that we played, I'm gonna point out one that Des played. Backbone. This was a dystopian noir thriller, basically. Adventure. It was a point-and-click adventure game in which you play as a raccoon. It was an anthropomorphized world. All the characters are animals, but it was like this dark, like gritty crime thriller where you're interviewing people trying to get into this club and meet these certain people, and the artwork was beautiful, super atmospheric.
Hey, can we play it on the channel?
We really should.
Yeah.
Or you should, or we should. One of those. We should play that. There's so many games that I want to play now on the channel because of PAX. Oh, and
You have a year's worth of content.
Yeah,
just
really.
from what
real.
was demoed.
Yeah, and we even play lots of games that are coming out soon because they're not even here. But anyway, that was really cool. But the best part about this, and I think this story needs to be retold.
Yes,
we told it in our
100%.
We told it in our day 2 recap video for this. You should go watch those, by the way. But so we were talking to one of the developers of Backbone, and he was having an online meeting with the other developers and just talking about like
What game do we want to make?
Game ideas. What game do we want to make? And all of a sudden, he looks out and he sees a bunch of raccoons in his mulch. What is it? The compost pile, and they're just like I remember his like hand gestures.
motions,
They're just
yeah.
like throwing things. Like it looked like a kid like tearing off wrapping paper of a present and just throwing it. But they were just having a party back there, and so his reaction was, "Hold on, guys!" He ran outside and had his trumpet, and he started. And his specific words were, "Started tooting on my trumpet," and like to scare away these raccoons. And then he came back in, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're gonna make a game about raccoon culture." But also with that, I mean funny story, but the story of the game was not funny. There might be
the game was
They talked about how they had like funny ideas to start, and it quickly became a very adult thing, and also like themes in it. He talked about there's like classism themes. In fact, we saw that just in the demo about, well, at least I'm not a rat or a rodent. Yeah, things like that where he's not on top, but he's a raccoon, so he's not the worst. Things like that. So just kind of showcase the power that a game has. Like it could come from a goofy place and be kind of goofy, being about rodents and whatnot, but still tell you like true stories about human life and what it's like to live in our society. So that was really cool. You ready now?
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
good. We had some dead air there. I was
That's
worried.
I just wanted to make all of your listeners uncomfortable.
No, that was
nervous.
Success.
suspenseful.
They all checked their phone or computer, like, wait, did it pause? Wait,
I'm
what?
currently on the edge of my seat.
Okay, so I typed them out because I'm gonna, forget them too if I
Good
didn't.
call.
I would say probably favorite would be for AAA. I think it's Divinity: Fallen Heroes.
Oh,
Yeah.
From that series, I haven't played the other games in that series, or we were talking about some of them.
Original Sin.
An Original Sin in that. And I hadn't played those, but it looked like a really interesting game, and it's like, and I was a big fan of Final Fantasy Tactics. I played a lot of that on my PSP, and some of the Fire Emblem games,
Right.
as well. And so I like that kind of tactical strategy game, and it seemed like they just brought that into a more, I don't want to say modern or contemporary era, but kind of that.
Because the style of game is actually pretty old. Like
exactly.
Like
it goes back, and they, I think, made some sort of, I don't know, quality of life changes, if you will, that made it a bit more fluid.
Yeah.
And so you no longer had in it the grids, but you still had the same sort of partial movement, turn-based strategy. I thought they did a really good job of the different spells of each class. You got to pick your own team too, so you could bring healer, archer, mage, all these different options, and you couldn't take all of them, so you had to be at least strategic in each mission as who you're going to take. But then they gave them some really unique abilities too that I thought were fun. With the rogue character, you had like traps. You could subdue people. You had all sorts of different options. If you didn't know, Kyle, there are ways that you can. There's more than just attack.
Hopefully, you'll be listening to this before we show our playthrough of it. But Fox didn't use any of the character-specific, zero character-specific.
I forgot
abilities.
those existed. Shut up.
He succeeded.
I still beat the game.
He did
Yeah,
great.
I'm gonna point out I beat it faster.
That's
than
hard
you.
mode.
Yeah, he did it really well. He did a great job.
Because it took me so long to figure out what all the abilities did.
I just remember there was a specific character that you had to basically escort to spot to spot to spot, and Fox he went to one space. He's like, "Oh, this is the spot," and it's like a new space. He's like, "Got it." But there's something else. Take him to another place. I'm ready. No, you're not. You forgot this. Oh, right. Had to take him to another place. Then
It's
he's
like
like,
5
now you got to
times.
escort me out. And then Fox is like, ugh. And then we look over at Chris, and Chris is using his teleportation technique.
He has this long-range teleport
Absolute
ability.
garbage.
It was
I prefer a challenge.
challenge.
I
It's
really don't. That's
It's like
a
the
lie.
3-heart challenge, and so
Yeah,
just hard
absolutely.
mode. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that for a kind of bigger title. Great graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked great.
The only thing too, we talked about it in our kind of recap, was it could be a little slow with the movement stuff, and so if there was some kind of fast text or fast movement option, that might really help the quality of life.
Yeah, 100%.
But overall, as a game, that was really solid. And my kind of heuristic for this was just what would I likely buy? Because I try not to buy a ton of video games. It's hard, but I try and
What's
think
that
like? It's
That's
bad
weird.
because I'll just go, buy way too many to try and really say what's one or two I can focus on, and until I just quit on it. And that was one I could definitely see myself buying. And for indie title, I think it's got to be Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yeah. Shout out to Kip Fox.
And that was just it's one of those this is a goofy concept, like a dungeon crawling dating game, but within 30 seconds I was I am so invested in this game.
I am in this relationship.
Not want it to end. And
You spend your time away from the game thinking about your dagger.
Yeah.
I miss her.
I miss her.
Valyria.
And it's I got a lightsaber at one point, which is probably an objectively better weapon than a dagger. But I'm I don't want to use that. I want to continue to build this
Feels
relationship with my
cheating.
dagger.
You get a new weapon and it feels like you're being unfaithful.
I could
You're a
never
faithful
betray
man,
her.
Chris. That's right.
Get out of here, right? And we went to the arcade and we kissed. And I gotta know what's gonna happen. Are we gonna make it?
So what'd you do at PAX again?
No.
Totally kissed a dagger in an arcade.
Don't tell my
What?
wife. So yeah, that was just it was a lot of fun.
That was
And
it was fun too. Yeah.
It was a solid game, and I enjoy indie games, but I also, and this is probably not that great of me, but again, it's the sort of economics of buying them, and so I try and keep it to really just the you gotta play stuff. But I would totally spend $20-$30 to play through that game, no question.
Yeah.
That was just a blast, and I would do it again for
Yeah,
sure.
we have coming down the pipeline an interview with the community developer of Kit Fox Games, who is developing and publishing Boyfriend Dungeon. That's going to be coming out next Monday, so look out for that. That was a really fun conversation to have. We saw her at PAX. That was really cool. So shout out to Kit Fox for being so great to us.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. You're very, very cool.
Incredibly friendly too.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, before we get into the meat of the conversation, though, let's also bring up, because this isn't really about the convention, this is about the outskirts of the convention. Let's talk about cosplay.
Yeah.
This year. So let's talk about some of the cosplay we saw, some of the cool things that we've seen this year. First and foremost, what I want to bring up, and this is both really awesome and also a little bit sad, but we saw 2 robots rolling around in PAX, and it was the coolest thing. So this was Mike. No, not Mike.
Mike.
Tom Servo and Crow.
Right.
Tom Servo and Crow from MST3K, that's Mystery Science Theater 3000, which if you don't know what that is, stop what you're doing and go watch Mystery Science. Sorry if you can hear
You
an
might be
ambulance in the
hearing a
background.
siren. We're in downtown Seattle.
I gotta
Yeah.
go.
They're here. But they would talk to each other. Like, they were both programmed with Raspberry Pi by two roboticists that their company, like, does this stuff. It's the two of them. It's their company, a husband and wife. And it was just brilliant. They were rolling them around. Again, they would banter back and forth and things like that. And we got to interview them, and it was so cool. And I was floored. They 3D printed the parts, built everything themselves. Wonderful.
Yeah. I thought the 3D printing piece was just like, holy,
and such
like,
a cool technique.
Yeah. And it's like, one thing to, I mean, it's still a ton of skill to like build a robot from like Home Depot metal or whatever, but to like at another level, I think of like 3D printing, it's just like awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we interviewed them, and we gave them our info, and then I received a direct message on Twitter this morning that said, "Hey, we just want to let you guys know that we've been kicked out of PAX, or we were kicked out of PAX yesterday, and we're pretty upset about that. Don't know if you want to include that in your video or not, whatever else, but I'll definitely talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it a little bit because this is something that is you can kind of see both sides of the issue, but it still sucks. But they were approached and essentially told, sorry, no robots. There is nothing in like the rules of PAX. There's nothing in the like things that the list that they give you, things to be careful of, whatever else. Nothing that says no robots in PAX.
Right.
But on the flip side, PAX has actually really like bumped up their security this year, just in response to the world today.
Yeah.
And so you could see, obviously, these robots don't go through the metal detectors. There are metal detectors this year, by the way. The robots don't go through the metal detectors. They set everything up, and so the robots get to go around the metal detectors, and that is, possibility of sneaking stuff in.
Right, because the people at the security team is likely not gonna know how to figure out if this robot is also a bomb. Like, like just hypothetically here. So it feels like it's unfortunate that happened, but it's not the most ridiculous thing that I kind of understand.
Yeah.
I understand. What sucks to me is, number one, there was no warning. These guys have gone to PAX, they said like the past 3 years. This is their fourth year bringing their robots. No warning, nothing else. They're just walking around, and now they're told for the first time ever, you have to leave.
Right.
You take your robots and go. And that really sucks.
It does. It really does.
And they honestly, they took it personally, and I kind of would too. Like, no other cosplayers are being told to leave. Again, you can see PAX's side of things, but with no warning and no explanation. They didn't seem like we're guessing that this is PAX's reason why. They weren't given a reason why.
Yeah.
And so, for all we know, they just didn't want robots. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're anti-robot.
Yeah. So, the whole situation sucks. It really does. I would just say that in the future, like, PAX really needs to be much more clear about that stuff.
Yeah.
And not just to the people, but also to their security guards at front.
Right.
Like,
don't let them in and then kick them out at the end of the day.
Yeah, we interviewed them at like 11 a.m., meaning they had probably been there for a few hours.
Yeah.
They'd been there. They'd been walking around. All kinds of people were seeing these robots and how cool they were, and then they got asked to leave.
Right.
That sucks.
It really sucks.
Yeah.
Let's continue on though. Let's talk about some more cosplay.
Yep.
We interviewed a bunch of cosplayers yesterday.
We really did.
That was really fun. Those are going to be going up on our channel. Those interviews.
Yeah, so if you're interested in cosplay, please pay attention to our channel because we do not have a big, long list of everybody we talk to. We absolutely wanted to tune you into these cosplayers and their Instagrams or their
We'll put all that stuff on the video in the community or in the description. But yeah, so what about you guys? What was something that stood out to you from the cosplay, either you saw or that we specifically interviewed?
To me, first and foremost, I want to say there was a Sora and a Roxas.
Yeah.
Just two
Those
super
guys were
cool
awesome.
guys. Yeah, really, really awesome guys. I can't remember their names, dang it. I wish I could. But, I mean, Fox and I it's still relatively small. But we walked up to these dudes, and he's like, wait, are you Dez? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I've always wanted to be interviewed by you. And I'm like, whoa. I've always wanted to be told that I wanted to be interviewed. Like, it was really cool. But they had some really awesome Sora and Roxas cosplay. Most particularly, their Keyblades were just top notch.
Yeah, they were really great.
Super cool.
Good
and so, yeah, just well done. And they were super friendly guys, really awesome to talk to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were both really awesome guys.
I liked all the lazy cosplay. Like
lazy
people who
cosplay
just
is
put
awesome.
on a Goku T-shirt and they're like, "This is it." I saw a guy carrying just like an axe, like
oh no,
street clothes.
Watch out for him.
No, I think of the ones that we interviewed or that you guys interviewed, I really liked the Final Fantasy X, Yuna and Lulu.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
great.
a lot, and I talked about them in my sort of recap, Day 2 recap, but just like the amount of work that went into, especially Lulu, like she has so many belts.
She's
like,
got an interesting
why do you need
costume,
that many
yeah.
belts? But like, you just know that took a lot of time to put together and a lot of energy in that to kind of pull that off, and even the hair and those sort of details were pulled off really well. And it's just one of those that like there were probably more intense ones, but just like the sort of closeness to how the character looked, like I feel like you nailed it in that regard, like which was really good. And then when you did an interview that I just saw from I love My Hero Academia,
Sure.
and so there was some good there's a good All for One, the spoiler
The
alert.
90s boy band, the
Boy
90s
band,
R&B band, All for
I
One.
love those guys.
He was a character. I'll just say a character in the late season. And he has a really kind of intricate mask, and I saw one that was like multi-part that looked really good. So
That's
I
awesome.
like that.
Man, it's always so much fun to like hear about the work that people put into it. To me, that's often, I don't care how, I mean, it's going to go hand in hand, I guess, how accurate it is and how much work you put into it, but just like creativity as well. We interviewed somebody who, I don't know if you call it cosplay, but he made essentially a stroller for his a small child that was Diva's mech from Overwatch, and it was so cool.
The Wave Rider skin.
Yeah, it was so cool because it was unique. We have a friend who used to, when their child was small, or no, that's you, isn't it? You had for Renaissance Fest.
Oh yeah.
You had it. Our friend Josh made it, right?
Josh made a stroller that was all wooden. Was labeled with our respective family crests, the Higgins and Valdez crests, and then it had like a top lid that my wife sewed a cloth covering for, and it made it look like a cart.
It was a palanquin, it was for your children as you go through your Renaissance fair.
Yep.
So even how they get around is in character.
By the way, we go hard on Ren fairs.
Yeah,
my
100%.
wife sews period accurate costumes, and we go as a whole family.
That's what this reminded me of. This was like, hey, we want to go all in on. I mean, they didn't have cosplay, but this is their thing that they wanted to make.
The daughter did. The daughter was dressed as
That's
Diva.
true. She was, and she was adorable.
She was.
But part of it was cool looking, but also creative. Like you were just like, these look like cardboard tubes, like from paper towel roll, or toilet paper. And he's like, it's both. And you're like, oh, okay. Some of it was 3D printed. Some of it was just wood that they painted and carved, and like just all these different pieces coming together, like create this really cool thing.
On that same note with that one, the relationships that cosplay can build.
Yeah.
So that one was for his daughter, and he had built stuff for his daughter before. She's cosplayed before, and just that relationship that you build with that. Then the way you talked about, Chris, the Lulu and Yuna were sisters.
Yeah.
And they cosplayed together and things like that, and it's just so cool to see these people that love each other and like doing things together, using cosplay as that medium for their relationship.
Yeah, there was
sure.
We interviewed a couple characters from what's the anime with the two, there was the girl and the guy with the purple suit.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yep.
We interviewed two of them. They were a couple.
Yep.
And they had met at PAX, I think, last year,
Yeah.
and just like so much
no
fun.
way.
Oh yeah, it was super cool. You get a lot of little bit. It's why it's so much fun to interview cosplayers, and why we find it weird that not a lot of people do that at interview or at conventions like this.
Interview cosplayers
Because you get to learn these little stories. Like we interviewed a few Rainbow Six Siege people, a couple interviews, but one of them were two people, and like they both had very accurate costumes to modern day like military uniforms, because one of them was a veteran and the other one was married to a veteran, and so you get these little things about, it's not just a costume, it's something I put my heart and soul into, and also like has this relationship behind it, and so that's why it's super fun. We love doing that.
Something that we just happened to get a lot of this year was first-time cosplayers as well.
Yeah.
That was super cool. We had one, speaking of the Rainbow Six Siege, one gal who had a first-time cosplay of a French character in the Rainbow Six Siege game. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
But it was a fantastic one, and she went all out with like EVA foam and everything like that, and she looked great.
Yeah.
There was another one who, to be honest, an anime or something, or video game, whatever it is,
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what it was, and she seemed they, to be fair, seemed
They seemed.
nervous and kind of like shy, but when you got to talk to them about their cosplay, opened up hugely.
Yeah, because you're asking them about something super personal to you.
Yeah.
They know exactly how they made that and why it's important to them.
And it made my day. They were talking about how they had taken like plastic and like dyed each individual sheet of it
Super
and then
cool.
cut out, and they had these wings that had like diamonds hanging from
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they had made it completely themselves, and it was so cool.
Yeah, that's
So,
always a lot of fun.
yeah, I loved it. I loved it. It's good, man. Cosplay, seriously, we joke about this a lot in our recaps, but Chris and Fox talk about how they have to like pull me away from cosplayers, like as I'm walking, like look at that one. No, Des, we're here to play games. Come on.
We've got other things to do right now.
Yeah, but I seriously, I love cosplay so much because the amount of creativity. It makes me think of my wife a lot, and honestly,
Yeah.
that's the amount of creativity and passion that goes into these things.
Yeah, for real.
It's just so
For
cool.
sure. Do you want Fox and I to go to the Ren Fair and interview you about your?
Yes.
Yeah, he does want that. No, we should.
It'd be
No,
my
we should
wife,
not
not
interview
me.
him.
Yeah.
You're
We should
right.
Interview Jackie.
Whole family. You're
Let's make that happen.
Actually,
Anyway,
it's
Alright,
my
we'll set that up.
responsibility for the weaponry. That's my
okay,
responsibility.
sure.
what nice weapons you have.
All right, before we get into our real meat, and I know we've already said that, our real meat. This is now a barbecue podcast.
Yeah.
No. Anything else? Just clean up here. Anything else that you kind of want to point out? Not about the convention, but just like games you played or cosplay or whatever other peripheral thing. Because our talk here is going to be kind of about the convention, itself. So
yeah. We want you guys to kind of get an idea of what
there
PAX
was
is like.
there was a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So much.
Yeah,
That's
there
the
is.
answer.
That's really a good answer.
So much.
Yeah, watch all of our interviews and all of our gameplay previews and stuff that we're gonna have coming out.
It was really cool to see some friends that we had made, like Victoria Tran,
Yeah.
who's going to be on our next week's podcast. If you hear garbage,
Yep, that's a garbage truck
Yep.
back there.
that's just Fox talking. No.
Yeah.
No.
I got to see Will Overguard.
Yeah,
He's
the
a
long
Twitch
ship-
streamer.
long ship people.
Long ship, and it's been really awesome. But it's been really cool to see a lot of people that, and we were hoping to see Sophia Larson, who we have interviewed 2 of the 3 years, and we were hoping to get 3 of
Yeah,
the 4
it
years.
just didn't
but-
happen.
Yep, unfortunately.
We probably passed by her or whatever and just didn't recognize her.
Yeah.
that happens too. Yeah, so, okay, that was great. We've got more on our channel about PAX. Go watch that. But I think it's about time to get down to the nerdy gritty.
To the nerdy gritty we go. But first, here's what else. Actually, I'm gonna run something by you, Fox. What do you think about not editing this one?
Not editing this one?
Not editing this
you
one.
know
You
what
guys
that's-
edit?
Yes.
Everything I know is a lie.
No, we do edit. But yeah, sounds great because that's a lot less work for me. So let's
Yeah.
just get right into it.
So if you kind of enjoyed what we did before this is what actually our what we call director's cut episodes of the podcast are, where we do not edit any of our pre-conversation. Now, the nerdy gritty, our actual talk after this moment, is never edited. We want you to be able to get the full content of what we do, but our kind of pre-talk where we just talk about side things or things we've been up to, usually we edit that down and submit that for you guys to get kind of a short edited version, but for our patrons, they get an entirely unedited version. So
Usually 2 or 3 times longer than
yeah.
what you would hear.
So if
typically.
you were super interested in kind of the conversations we have, if what we listen to today is something that you enjoyed listening to, consider checking out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/dezandfox. And for our 2nd and 3rd tier patrons, you get an unedited version of our podcast, as well as all of our Patreon exclusive content. A lot of really cool stuff goes up. You get that Patreon exclusive content as tier 1 as well, of course. Tier 3 help us. I got it.
You
Get to
good?
help us
You good over there?
choose games and things like that. So we want to say thank you so much to all of our patrons for all the help that you give us. If you're able to help us out via Patreon, we'd love it. And if not, we just love it when you like, share, comment, any way advertise us on social media. You guys are awesome whenever you do things like that.
Yeah.
All that being said, let's continue on to the nerdy gritty.
Right. So this week we've kind of had a few conversations over the last couple of days that kind of point toward like things that we've noticed about PAX this year. So instead of just an hour long of talking about cool things at PAX, which we could very easily do and more, we're going to be talking about a few things that we've noticed are going on or may have changed from last year's, or just a few like different companies at the convention, how they put on their booth, how they like, interact with people, and just kind of comment on those things, or, maybe it could be better if we did it this way, or so let's do a lot of that today. Get down to the actual convention specifics, and we're here talking about PAX specifically.
Right.
A lot of this is not going to, like, I'm going to Rose City Comic Con in 2 weeks, but this is a pretty different experience. So let's we're going to talk about this specifically, and I'm going to open it up with a really cool topic that Chris, you brought up before, just about how different game companies decide to have customers essentially come in and play their game, because there's actually a few different methods that people take. So what are some of those methods? We can kind of compare and contrast them, but what do some companies do?
One thing that I really appreciate that Sony does is there will be games that if you go somewhere else might have a 3-hour wait.
Yes.
But tucked away somewhere in the back of their booth, there'll be one screen with that game on it.
Yeah.
So like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot had probably an hour and a half long wait. We got in on Friday, luckily real fast. It was our first game we recorded. But there was one TV that had like 3 people waiting it with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Monster Hunter Iceborne
Same way.
had
Same
about
thing.
2 hours, and there were 2 screens with Monster Hunter Iceborne in the Sony booth.
Yeah.
And they do this a lot. I think we even got to play. No, it wasn't Spider-Man. There was something we got to play last year that had a super long wait somewhere else, and we walked by. They're like, "Wait, this is the game. Let's just play
we
it right
just
now."
Jumped right in.
Yeah, I can't remember what game it was though, but they have this thing where they just want to showcase their console as well as their games, and so they have right in front of you, sitting off to the side, a lot of opportunities to step up and play some games that you may wait a lot longer somewhere else for.
Yeah. What other methods, Chris? What were some of the other ways game companies got you to play their game?
I liked the Borderlands sort of method, and I think this goes to a little bit to the nature of how people present their games. Because I guess with Borderlands, or anyway, they just had there were some of the games too, and that was a single player game. So they could have had a system where it's just you play for 20 minutes, and then it's like, okay, you're up next, and they kind of do one at a time. But they did just huge waves, so they'd kind of get everyone in a really efficient system.
Yeah, they
just
had 30 screens, 30 stations.
That getting everyone in there, and what looked like it was going to be a 3 to 4 hour wait, just based on kind of things, took 35-40 minutes tops, and so it was super efficient. I think that, and so I really liked that, which sort of became preferable to the sort of long line where it's okay, you go.
Yeah.
Now you go, and then you're okay, is it going to be 5 minutes? Is it going to be 25 minutes until the next one? Because there were some where I'm okay, great, I'm about to be up, and then it takes 25 minutes for one person to do their playthrough. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to bring exactly that up. We were at Pray for the Gods, and
nameless person.
Yeah, Fox and I were 2 people behind. Chris was 1 guy behind, and Fox got up, played through the entire demo, and just as Fox was beating it, then Chris got to go up because the guy in front of him took so long.
Yeah.
They didn't have a limit to how long he could be there. They didn't have a time to the demo.
Yeah.
Their goal was just when you beat the boss.
Yeah.
So, no, I really agree with you. I really appreciate that about Borderlands did that, as well as the Savage Planet. What's that?
Journey to the Savage Planet
did that as well, where they had X amount of screens, and they swapped them out every X amount of time.
Yeah.
And with that, it was really convenient to go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here I am. I know it's going to be 45 minutes or whatever else.
Yeah.
I can calculate that. I know how long I'm going to be here. It was really nice to be able to calculate that.
Yeah, that was also great
for
because
sure.
at the Monster Hunter World booth, they kind of did. They had 4 players go at each station, so you had a tiny part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But even at that one, somebody, a person, the person in the booth who was kind of hey, we need people. The other person at the front of the line would not notice immediately, and so there was a lag where that station is just sitting open for even 30 seconds. If you multiply that out over the day, that's a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
Where more
Probably
people
full
could be playing a
playthrough.
game. If a whole group of 30 people leave immediately, nobody's gonna miss that. Nobody's gonna be oh
wait,
this
been
is
empty for a
entirely
while.
empty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's real. It helps efficiency because if you have 30 stations, you got 4 different rows.
Yeah.
You know, somebody seeing that one station is done might not take. It might.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just helps people efficiently get through. Which, as a game company, you want maximum amount of people to play your game while you're there. It's
absolutely.
really a good thing for you to do.
And that seems like a little bit the struggle of the indie game company. And I know you're totally limited by the fact that it's like you and you're like your cousin and like maybe 1 or 2 friends that you could pull to volunteer for you.
Yes.
And I know they're trying to promote the game, which is so important. But like,
Huge.
you know, if you just got that one friend to help you manage the line, because there were some of those which, you know, was like a game we'd want to play, you know, and we'd get up and some, you know, it'd just be like, is this the line? Like, are you in line? Or sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, that looks like a long line, but like 6 people are just watching and only one person. And so, you know, if you just had someone to help manage that line to make sure you're getting that maximum efficiency, I think that's really important. That was what kind of the nature between the AAA and the indie, because, you know, they're kind of like, the indie people are more just trying to promote their title, especially where it's like the AAA, you know, they kind of naturally have that, and so they're trying to manage.
Can afford a team of 30 people,
but even just being a little more, you know, conscious to help that stream might make that piece flow a little better.
Right? Yeah, the Rose City Games had a guy who doing that. He would come up to everybody walking around and be like, "Hey, you want to play? Short line, only one person." Because he mentally was just like, "That guy's next, that person's next, that person's after," and just like really great. And at the same time, would talk to the people about the game. So yeah, that was really good.
I'm gonna jump back to Monster Hunter here because something that they did that I really appreciated is they had 3 demos.
Yes.
One
4.
was the
4 whole demos. Yes.
Oh.
Nobody while we were there where it would even play the hard one.
Well, there was beginner, intermediate, and advanced.
Yes, there was one above that.
Oh, there was even one above
I'm fairly
advanced.
certain, yes.
Okay.
At least 3. There might have been a 4th. I'm not sure.
So I know for sure there was beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and they would say, "Okay, you first in line. What do you want to play? You want to play beginner?
Luckily, I was that person.
Who's next? Beginner? No, you don't. You want to? Okay, I need 3 beginners," and they would get groups of 4, and then they would get you to be able to play, so you could feel like you're succeeding this game. They recognize that their game is one that's difficult.
More agency.
And then they would sit you down with a team. They had their headphones connected. You could talk to each other. You could work together as a team. They had each like character prepped and ready to go for you.
You got to change out your equipment, but you just jumped right into the game.
They made, you already used the quality of life phrase, Chris. They made the quality of life of the demo huge.
Yeah.
So if you were somebody that, like maybe me, who has literally never played a Monster Hunter game in my entire life, but maybe I would want to sit down there and try it. Sure, I'll fight a great Jagras. I don't know what that is.
Sure.
I don't know that it's the easiest, thing to fight. I'll jump in and I'll try it, and I'll feel good when I beat it. Maybe you're Fox, and you've played a handful of it, here and there. You got some familiarity with it. So sure, you're going to jump in on the intermediate, and maybe you're really good at this, and you want to jump in on the advanced one because you've been grinding that Monster Hunter Worlds, and you want to come in and check out this expansion. So there's so many different options in that, as well as the ability to work together on a team and get to see how the multiplayer of Monster Hunter works.
It was glorious.
Oh, like you said specifically, just that playing multiplayer may make you want to get into Monster Hunter again.
Yeah.
So that was really well done.
Two other ways that a couple companies are getting people into their game in a specific way. Nintendo on Wednesday, 2 days before the con, emailed everybody who was I believe it was a PAX email. It was either a PAX email or a Club Nintendo or whatever email. We got an email that said, "Hey, Warp Pipe passes available for Pokemon Sun and Moon," and then the other one was for Luigi's Mansion and another game, another one of their big games coming out. I can't remember what it is.
Phantom Hourglass.
No, not Phantom Hourglass, but the new Zelda. The new Zelda, Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah,
that's
the remake.
What
So you got to essentially like a Disneyland Fast Pass. If you signed up, if you reserved your spot, it was limited. We unfortunately forgot about it and didn't get them.
Monsters.
You got to go to that. Like you got this 2 days before. You knew when you were playing that game. 2 days before you even got to the con. You already had that planned out, which was really cool. It takes Nintendo has infamously long lines at these things. Smash Brothers, you waited in line for hours last year. And so I think they recognized that and said, let's try to tone that down. Now there's still a, a standby line, but I'm pretty sure they'll tell you, like, in that line, hey, you're second here. Like,
Yeah.
like, you're waiting, and you could wait forever and
Mhm.
not actually play. I
Like
would,
if someone bails, congrats.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
3 people
right.
probably. Maybe.
So that was really cool. Now, PlayStation, or Square Enix specifically, they have their Final Fantasy VII remake demo available to us, which is also awesome. But that we get to play it. But how they do it is first come, first serve. You get there, and they give you, like, if they have them any left, you get a ticket that says, come back at this time and play the demo.
It's exactly like a Disneyland Fast Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's also cool. It's, I mean, a little more hectic because you got to get there,
Mhm.
but it also takes away a lot. They can plan better. They know exactly how many people are going to be there. Make sure everybody gets that experience if they got a ticket. And also, I think it helps. Not that Final Fantasy VII Remake needs some more hype, but it gets people like super pumped about even getting to want to play it. I am running toward Final Fantasy VII. Why? Because I want to play it, and also I love it. And that's just getting it in people's mind. Like, they're thinking about it all weekend. I've been thinking about it all weekend, like, okay, we got to make sure we do that on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's a million other games I want to play. That's, like, kind of a psychological thing I think they've tried to accomplish.
I'll say this though, for us, it's nice because we can prepare for
Yeah.
them. It's really nice because they can prepare. But if you're Joe Schmo who just scraped out enough money to make it to one day of PAX,
Yes.
and you go on Saturday and you show up half an hour late,
Right.
and then you walk there and they're out of tickets, you're just flat out screwed.
That is the downside there. It's a rush, and it can be it's going to be disappointing for most people who want to play it.
Right.
Which is
So-
pretty much everybody there.
Yeah. And had you not known, because I didn't know that they were going to do that.
No,
Yeah,
we
no,
didn't
they-
know.
Yeah, and it was maybe that would certainly be unfortunate if you're like, oh yeah, I'll arrive at 8:00, maybe let the line die down just a bit, and then I'll just wait however long it takes for Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, that
Right.
would be totally
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah, and then you get
Yep.
there and you can't play at all. Here's a poster. Cool. Like, it's a cool poster, but I want to play your game. Sorry, you can't. Yeah, so some kind of pros and cons there, but
Mhm.
I think I don't like as much, or I think I prefer that over if you have the privilege of being able to be there for several days. I think I prefer that over, hey, come get in line and
Yeah.
good luck, man.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and-
Because they can get such long lines.
Yeah, and it really, I think, frees you up, and I think it trickles down to, especially probably maybe some of the more indie games or the other parts of the expo, like probably the upstairs floor and whatnot, that is more likely to get overlooked. Because if you just have a particular, like, hey, come back at 1:30 for Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah.
instead of spending 3 hours waiting there, you're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll check out other stuff, and
Yeah.
probably,
It encourages
some of the
more
shorter line
exploration.
stuff.
Yeah.
And even if you just stick in AAA titles, you've now seen probably like 3-4 more things up close.
Or more
and
Square Enix
interactive.
games.
Yeah, or you got to run through Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy XIV
Yeah.
online. And
Every
Brave
other Final
Exvius.
Fantasy I think they have
Yeah,
here.
and then do that app quest and just like
Who would do that?
Yeah, for 14
Yeah.
pins.
12.
12
I wish it
pins.
was 14.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we've talked about that. That's an interesting thing. It's just kind of curious to see how different companies will accomplish the task of making sure that people can play their game. Pros and cons, it happens. You got to prepare yourself for just waiting in lines when it comes to the. That's just how it goes.
That's part of the con experience.
Yeah,
Is you're
part
going to
of-
wait in some lines. That's one reason why I appreciate the indie areas so
Yes.
much, or at least small publishers or small dev teams, things like that so much, is because oftentimes you can get in and out. Like on Saturday, we don't even try to do any of the big games.
Yes.
We don't even bother because that's when everybody's there. That's when we do it. So we run to the indie mega booth, and we can knock out
Freaking
15
we camp
games.
out over there.
Yeah, and
Set up a
it's
tent.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. Something
There-
else, just
yeah.
real quick. If you want to get me to really enjoy your game, give me a chair. Give me a chair to sit in, please.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is, I think, a good future topic is how like a in-person demo. How do you make it a great experience for people? Because we can talk. There's a lot of things I could talk about there, but I mean, free stuff, place to sit, easy to understand demo, all that kind of stuff. But we could talk about it in the future. Something I do want to bring up, and this is a little more niche here, and admittedly we
A
don't.
little
know the-
more niche than the time frame of line waiting at PAX.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
We're going deeper down the rabbit
We're
hole,
going
boys.
so specific.
Even more niche than that.
No. Okay, maybe slightly less. I don't know. Anyway, we were hanging out. We've noticed a couple times, or noticed early on in this PAX, that there is in one of the two major show floor rooms, there is a large area that is essentially empty. It's not empty. It's tables, and it's where people will eat food that they got from the convention center, restaurants, and whatever, or just hang out. But it's something that we, as far as we remember, hasn't been there.
Yeah.
We don't remember what would have been there, but it was full of more games and booths.
It's enough space for one large booth or maybe even two small booths.
Yeah. A few games, a few developers could probably be there. That, along with, and this is purely our perception from what we've seen, it seems as though there was just less people than we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. And that could be for whatever reason, but we want to talk about a little bit. Is it possible that conventions like this, these huge expos, are maybe dying away a little bit? Specifically, using the model that E3 is setting, where we now have two of the three major gaming companies that don't have an actual presence at
E3 itself.
At E3, so. What are your thoughts on that? What I mean, are there other explanations for these things, or what is it just?
It could just be a fluke year, obviously. That's
sure,
always a possibility.
okay.
But the question is, are conventions like this going away? What I will say is no, if they're wise enough to change.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I think they are. I think they absolutely will be.
Let's hope so.
E3's problem is that they are a industry only convention or type thing, and
for the most, yeah.
You can't just buy tickets to E3. You get invites and things like that, and so the ability to attend that, it just seems like not going to happen for the layperson.
Sure.
But then if you're a journalist who just doesn't want to go, or if you don't get invited or whatever else, so at that point you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But for a convention like this, people want to go to this. Anybody can go to this. I think with video games these days, if they try to make it more social, then it will work out. Everything will be just fine.
Yeah.
So they already focus a lot on board games. They did a lot more co-op this year. You know, like Monster Hunter was co-op, Binding of Isaac was co-op. There was a lot of co-op games to play this year. Different things like that where you are building the community of gamers and supporting the community of gamers rather than just the games themselves or the companies that do them. I think that could easily sustain conventions like this forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we also talked a little bit about, I mean, there's just practical reasons why that big empty space was there. What if they just wanted a place for people to be able to rest on the show floor? Like, a lot of times you'll see people just sitting against the wall, partially in the way of people walking, because they don't have a place to go unless they leave the show floor entirely and go to a different room. But if they only want to sit down for a couple minutes and eat a sandwich, then it's really nice to have a table there where you can just chill and not be in people's way, because as somebody who walks through the hall not wanting people to be in my way, I don't want to be in their way either. I want to be out of the way and let people get to the games they want to play. So, I mean, yeah, simple things like that. As far as it dying, yeah, I think it needs to change. I would be okay with them selling less tickets.
I mean, you'd be. I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure you would be okay with that.
Well, sure, no, sure. I understand its thing. I'd be okay with shrinking if it meant if it sustained longer. If they try to maintain at max capacity, then it's by nature, because unless they make other changes that I don't even know about, it's just gonna die. But if you kind of shrink a little bit and focus and whatnot, and maybe even be able to reduce price, hey, more people are gonna be able to come.
It's the problem that Disneyland had been having for a while, where they were just getting too many people in the park and they couldn't fit it, and so they just had to keep jacking up their prices. And eventually now we're at a point where they've jacked them up too much and their numbers are going down.
Yeah.
And, something like that for PAX could happen, where too many people, too crowded, people are going to lose interest eventually, and it's just not going to be as fun. So I guess I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah, you got to find that good medium between lots of people who want to come and enjoy everything, but also making, too many people trying to enjoy it means everybody gets to enjoy it a little less.
Yep. Yeah, if it weren't for the cosplay that we see on Saturday, Saturday would be my least favorite day.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of people that are
Yeah,
in that
that's
place.
that's the
for
big
sure.
one. Yeah.
For sure. I think when you were playing Monster Hunter, my legs called it quits, so I went out. Speaking of finding areas, I went out kind of into
PAX.
the atrium to sit, and another guy just came by and was like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And it was the beginning of a blossoming friendship.
Oh, you guys are besties now.
We are. Anyway, but I learned he's got an interesting job. He was a game developer for a long time, worked on Counter-Strike Go,
That's
Group
awesome.
Offensive and that, and is now like a mixer streamer. So I was just, asking him some questions about his experience of this, and he's been going since, I think, 2008 when he moved to Seattle, and he's got a number of friends. He goes by himself, he said, but he's got tons of like game developer friends and that, and none of them want to go to PAX. And I thought one of the interesting pieces was they're all older, so I'm sure hit a stage in life when age stuff, when it just becomes like, a little too much money.
I'm not approaching that. Shut
up. For hypothetically, someone could approach this.
Yeah, maybe somebody in this
everybody
room.
but Dez. But like, so a lot of them are like, hey, it's too much work, and it could be a local thing too. They're all like
Right.
Seattle locals, so it's
No,
like,
for sure.
fighting traffic. I can, that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of that, and so I think there is one level to me. It seems of like, what is now going to capture this younger, rising generation of gamers to come to a convention like this. The other interesting piece he mentioned, which I kind of think I agree with, and granted his perspective is different than mine because he's like a content creator, and he was telling me, I guess he has like a decent kind of following, so he goes to these booths and he gets like this attention that's like when you're waiting in line all day, it's like, man, that's nice, you get a cut to the front or something.
Yeah.
But he said it's just so disingenuine, like they're not coming to him because of his interest in the game or that, right? They're hoping that he hosts it on his website and I was like, I totally see, there's this kind of thing where that it's not really about that relationship, and that it becomes this more broadly like business, like, and it loses the heart of really being about the joy of gaming. And so I was thinking about that. So if I can lob a question to you guys, that what changes? I mean, do you think? Because we can say like, yeah, change would be helpful, but like, what kind of? Because I sort of agree that there's something about it that should be different, but I don't think I could at this moment say like it needs to be this, like, and I don't think it's like less people or some of these. Sometimes you throw out these like lofty
grand
like
things,
like that, or like, oh, we just need to like bring it back to its heart or something like that. But
so you're asking what changes?
Yeah, like what
can
changes
PAX
would
make?
really help sustain it in the future, do you think?
Here's one thing I could say for sure is one of the huge reasons that I love going to the indie booth is the devs are there watching you play.
Yeah.
And you get to talk to them about it. We've had 4 or 5 devs like, do you want to ask me questions? Do you want to talk about it? I'm happy to talk to you about
Here's
it.
a card.
And with so many
Email
of them, we're
me.
like, hey, we don't have time right now. We're trying to hit up 18 different games right now. We'd love to get a card from you. And guys, honestly, we're planning on having some people on this podcast that we talk to today. It'd be so awesome to talk to some indie devs and things like that. But at the big name booths, there's so much of the like, hey, how does this work? I don't know, man. I just work here.
Yeah, for sure.
There are people who are like just hired hired by the developer, or even like convention people. Just
and PAX itself has put a stamp on no booth babes.
Yes.
But one thing that I do recognize is just there's a lot of attractive women that do these things. A lot of them are younger, attractive women that are guiding you around. But again,
even good-looking dudes too. On both
absolutely.
sides.
Yeah, there are like a lot of handsome young men that are. That just sounds weird. For
They
me to
asked
say.
me a couple times to like, hey, could you help sell
of
things in our
course,
booth?
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm trying to help, sell my friends YouTube channel.
Are you trying to sell us?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, what are you doing tomorrow at about 7 p.m.?
Because you've been booked.
I'm uncomfortable.
But it just seems like their tactic is much more just people to get you in, get you out, and be an aesthetic prop there.
Yes.
And it's a little bit unfortunate. I would love, maybe not even a dev, but like a responsible fan that you come in. Like maybe you say, hey, fans of Monster Hunter World, apply to be one of our exhibitors, and we'd love to have you come. We'll give you 1 day of training. We're not going to pay you, but we'll give you Iceborne for free. or something like that.
Solid.
Yeah.
And you know how many people would do that? All of them.
So
yeah,
many.
like
And
this. If you
train them, you bring them up to be kind and nice, and you get them in there talking about their excitement and their passion for this game that you're playing.
Yeah.
like if you talked about Final Fantasy VII to people in line, like I know it's already hyped, but like it'd be even like through the roof.
Guys, I'm super.
I
this
could
is
do
such
that.
a good
I could
demo.
do that.
Right?
I could stand there
Super
and talk
pumped,
to people
guys.
about
Yeah.
how much I love them, why I love each individual character, who I was when I
Yeah.
played 7 on the PlayStation 1 each of the 14 times that
Yeah,
I beat it.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
What
And
names
just-
I gave to all my custom characters,
I
which
did
friends
every
I named
single
them
time,
after.
man. Yes, and it was just so cool, or would it be so cool to like talk to other fans about that? And you again in the indie booth, you'll see people who I'm judging here, but would likely otherwise go to one of the big name booths, walk in, play the game, and walk out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, engaging in conversation with the dev. You hear, if you're standing in line, you hear a lot of people just chatting about the game with the devs, and it's so cool to listen to, and it makes people care about games more too, rather than seeing them as a product, seeing them as an art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
And like, help me out here? Like, what's the games they show? Are they supposed to be like? At what point in development are you putting out a game on the
all
floor?
points,
Like
every point.
because like especially these AAA titles just seem like, hey, this is coming out soon. Like play it, so you play our fully done copy.
Yeah.
So it's like so you're excited to buy it. But it would be cool if there was, and I'm a believer that you can always improve, and so I don't see why you couldn't have a developer, even if it was like an intern developer, like soliciting some kind of feedback.
100%. Developers in the indie mega booth, like literally, like, hey, what'd you think? And it's not like a, did you have fun? It's like a, what'd you think?
What feedback?
And
can
then
you
if
give
I
me?
tell them, I wish it was a little faster. I wish this, dialogue was a little faster. I'd be like, okay, cool. Here's we're gonna be doing an open beta soon. I want you in on that.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much better than, oh, I hope you had fun. Here's a pin. Like, I love the pin. I'm not gonna complain about the pin,
Yeah.
but just just the person posted there to make sure you leave, like that, so we can get somebody else in. Yeah. Here's what I'll say. I think could really help what PAX does better than, I don't know, maybe they have a huge focus on gaming that is not AAA.
Yes.
By that I mean indie gaming. By that I mean board gaming. By that I mean card gaming in general. Put that on your expo show floor. Put the indie mega booth right in front of the main entrance, so everybody has to walk through it to get to Final Fantasy VII. Give it more space. So obviously everybody walking through it, that's going to crowd it
Yeah.
hardcore. Give it more space. Maybe not put it right there. Put it right to the left where
right to the left.
right to the left where where Square Enix usually is, or where Nintendo usually is. Now this comes I don't know how they decide this. I don't know if it's, hey, Square Enix wants to buy this specific
I guarantee
spot.
you that
That's more
atrium
expensive.
open door is more
Yeah.
expensive than the indie mega
Yeah.
in the back. But
Yeah.
it'd be really cool if PAX just said, hey, indie games are important to us.
Yes.
So every year, the entire front line is
Yeah.
going to be just, one flat line of indie games.
Yeah.
Then once you walk past that, you get all the big
The
names.
indie wall.
Or
Yeah.
give them a little more space too. Like
Sure.
the table area we were talking about earlier. I was thinking that seems like it was honestly bigger than the indie. I was like, I bet you could fit the whole indie booth plus some in there.
Indie,
So like
indie booth 1, indie booth 2,
yeah,
or
like if you gave them just more space, and it doesn't like you said have to be that prime space. But like if they just got more space.
Put them there, because everybody and their mother is gonna go play Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Put them where the indie booth is right now,
Yeah.
basically all the way in the back.
That's the Final Fantasy VII booth.
Because
You
it's-
could even go for that grocery store logic. Like grocery stores watch their security tapes, and the items that are shopped the most go to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to
Put
walk
your
through
meat and your
more
dairy on
product.
the back wall,
Yeah.
and your impulse items up in the front,
Right, so
where
you-
you're checking out.
You have to walk past that stuff to get it. In the same way, like you said, everybody and their mother's gonna go play Iceborne, Final Fantasy VII,
Borderlands.
They're gonna want to go to that. So stuff them all the way in the back and have people walk by the indie games and showcase them.
At the same time, pepper board games and card games throughout. Put them next.
That has happened a little more this year.
Yeah.
There have been
with
just
the
kind of some
Skybridge.
card and board games out in the video
That's
game
true.
area.
They put them
what's
in
really
the
cool?
Skybridge usually. That's kind of reserved a
that's
little bit for some board games
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm saying put them next to the long lines for the big games.
Like impulse buys.
100% with like, oh man, now I'm just thinking like this is genius.
Let's
You're
start a board
welcome.
game company.
Or just put like a card game right next to that big line, and then they can have their people come over and like, hey, you want to play a game real quick?
That'd be really
You guys
awesome.
want a super fight? It takes 30 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
we
Even
got a
if you-
preview of it while you're waiting for this other game to maximize people's time to get them as many games.
Yeah.
But just put more than just these big developed. Don't try to be. I've never been to E3, but don't try to be just a big E3 show floor. Your indie mega booth is awesome, and it should be a focus because, personally, I think it's what separates you from a lot of what I've seen in other, video that I've seen from these big conventions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So focus on what you focus on, because that's great.
To return to you, Chris, you asked us a question. I want to ask you a question. This is your first PAX ever, and your first convention like this ever. Am I right?
Big gaming convention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First PAX.
So-
Maybe first.
What do you think? What kind of some thoughts have been going through your head as you're going through this? What did you think of like on Friday, your first day there? What was going through your head?
Man, let's see. I didn't know totally what to expect. Thankfully, some of my other hobbies have prepared me well for waiting in line. So that was good. But I've enjoyed it. It's been... And I've enjoyed different things than I expected, because there are some demos that you wait in line. Only like one or two did I go through, wait in line, play the demo, and I was like, meh.
Yeah. Could have spent more time on somewhere else.
But like I've especially loved the indie booth. Like all of those games, I mean they've all been pretty short lines, but really all of them have been a blast. Even if you're like, that was fun, maybe not for me, like, I might not buy it, but I'd probably play like all of them.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
one way or another. And so that was good. It's always fun to see good cosplay. And the people have just been super nice. I love making line friends or random friends, people you talk to.
Very cool.
And it's just fun to talk to the different people in the gaming community and like to figure out, like what they're passionate about, because it's, we're all sort of connected to these things in one way or another, and so it's fun to see that sort of shared experience about like I love Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite games.
Yep.
And to see people cosplaying Kingdom Hearts because like they loved it just as much, if not more,
If not
than
more,
I
yeah.
did, or in they loved it in other ways or for other reasons than I did.
Yeah, that Sora and Roxas that we interviewed weren't just talking about the game. They were like, yeah, and I used to be 5'6", which used to be Sora's height, but now they actually have him canonically at 5'2". And it's like, dude,
What?
you guys love Kingdom Hearts. That's how I love Kingdom Hearts. You love, yeah, exactly. Take the crown off, hand it to them, and that's awesome. That's so cool to see people with this passion. It really is.
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun. And I don't know it's just been hanging out with you guys is always adequate.
Yeah, the
to
real
say
PAX
least.
are the friends we made in the end.
It's the journey along the way. The Seattle. Let me just shout out the Seattle weather.
yeah.
I live in
man.
Houston right now, which my wife said is 95 and humid.
That place sucks.
Fall will strike sometime around October 28th, maybe. So this weather is beautiful.
Yep. It's been a nice
choice of,
weekend.
Like, I grabbed some coffee and I was like, I'm going to sit outside for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, for real.
So that's been a delight.
It's been a choice first PAX, I think. Yeah.
So I'm moving to Seattle soon.
Di, if you come, that's great. But
That's one thing that people don't hear a lot. I'm moving to Seattle for the weather.
For the weather.
I mean,
So-
I kind of moved to Portland for the weather because I
weather.
love rain.
I do want to shout out one last thing before we tie it up here. Each night when we've come back, we've played Chocobo's Crystal Hunt.
Yeah.
And we love it.
That's
It's
the peak of
such a
PAX.
Such a good
man.
game.
It's so simple.
I
It's
kind
so
of
fun.
impulse bought it. I went into the Square Enix store, and I was like, there's a lot of stuff I want, most of which is kind of pointless. And so I'll just get the one thing that actually could have a point. And I bought it's a card game,
Yeah.
and it's been super fun to play.
Yeah.
Hey,
very cool.
Des, what's your record in Chocobo Hunter?
So you have to win 2
Yeah.
gems to win it. But I've overall won once, and I think I've won 3 of the things. How about you, man? What's your record?
I've done fairly well. I
Yeah,
think
you
I
have
have
done
3
well.
match wins.
Oh, that's
overall
nice.
match wins.
That's cool. That's
got
cool.
2
So
yesterday and
so
one
do
the
you
day
guys want to
before.
talk about any other cosplay or?
Hey Fox, how's your record? In
I really
Chocobo
liked.
Crystal Head,
No,
Fox?
it was really cool to see the magic.
It's your game.
Things, and I haven't won at all.
So
So
as we tie it up,
okay.
the one thing you've loved about PAX so far. Name to me just overall one thing you've loved about PAX. So let's send it off on a good note.
Man, I mean, there's lots of things.
Men. That's what
Men.
you love
The
about PAX.
men.
He's
so
loved
far.
the men.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're
A lot
great.
of really good
people.
guys at PAX this
Yeah,
year.
I like seeing
Every
them.
year.
A lot of
really.
shirtless men walking around.
No, I think that's part
Chiseled
of.
abs and their dynamite areolas.
Yeah, no, they're great. Think they're better than us.
Think you're better than
I
me.
think they're better than me.
No, I think one of my favorite parts this year is like seeing people that we've like. There are a couple people didn't see them, but I messaged them on Instagram. Was like, hey, we'd love to interview you again. They're just like, oh yeah, sounds great, and didn't work out. We didn't happen to see them.
Yeah.
Or the two guys that like. I'm trying to not make this people we recognize or got recognized by, but it's okay. Here, I'll make an equivalent real quickly. It's like going to camp during the summer.
That's a really great way to put that. No,
You
I get
see
it.
them
I
for
get
five.
it,
You see them for
Chris.
5 days,
Chris just lost it. He
and
can't
they are
even
your
right
camp
now.
friends.
I get no.
They're your
I
camp friends.
I understand what you're
And maybe
saying.
you get to like talk on
Shut
the
up,
phone
Chris.
once or twice over the year. Maybe you
Camp
send
girlfriend.
you send a letter back and forth. My camp girlfriend
Do you
is
have a PAX
is
girlfriend?
Valeria the Dagger from Boyfriend Dungeon. How dare you? That was my PAX girlfriend. No, maybe you maybe you message each other over, like, hey, do you want to be on our podcast? And then you get them back and you see him again.
My camp girlfriend is Ophelia from Elsinore.
Yeah, no, just being able to like you mentioned it before, just being able to see people that we've talked to before, and being able to just make connections like that, because that's a lot of what we like to do. It's what it comes down to.
Yeah. For me, it's most definitely the love for the craft. Whether it's the craft of cosplay, the craft of video gaming, the craft of board gaming, the craft of tabletop gaming, whatever it is, like, you will find other people who love it there.
Yes.
And not just enjoy it, that love it and that want to talk to you about it. So if you are a fan of any of these things, video games, board games, card games, tabletop games, any of this stuff, cosplay, go to a PAX. Find a local PAX. There's PAX Australia, PAX Boston, PAX Texas, PAX.
Yeah, it's in Austin,
PAX
Texas.
Seattle.
We have a PAX?
Yes.
Shut up. No, we didn't have you fly up here for that.
It's PAX South.
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah. There's a PAX South. And go to your local PAX and check it out, because there will be other people there who love this stuff as much as you do. And it's so cool to make these connections and talk to these people about these things.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
what are you guys doing in January?
they can't do it.
No.
Des might be able to, but if he does, I'll force him. Yeah, there are lots of great things. Chris, anything you want to just best part, most memorable, whatever?
Games.
Yeah.
In its purest form.
Look, if you love gaming, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, no, it's just like, a lot of fun to get caught up in an enjoyable game, even if it's only 15 minutes. That one demo of Divinity was like 30 minutes, so that was awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But
It was actually 20 minutes, but the convention center was closing, so they just let you play the last 10 minutes.
no, we had a 30minute timer on.
Then they let you play 40 minutes. Then.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
We
they
played
let
a-
you
we
just-
played
just
a
let you
long
keep
time.
playing,
It was a while. I stopped. They probably weren't gonna kick us out. It seemed anytime soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just to get like caught up in a bunch of different games is a lot of fun, and I think in a lot of ways, a stronger indie game presence is in the future for gaming, especially as you have more of a focus on story and narrative driven games too. Because there's so much that I think people love that are not your AAA titles. I mean, you have great AAA titles for sure, but so much more that people are beginning to love that is from, just people that are incredibly passionate about the game. And so the more, you can capitalize, like you were saying, on people who, like, they're burning about, this art that they created, this thing that they, this thing they thought up in the middle of the night. It's really cool to get to see someone's like idea come to fruition like that.
That they came to because raccoons were
Yeah,
getting their
that's what I was
backyard.
about to say.
And it's, I don't know, it's kind of an honor to like get to play
It
through
is.
that.
I
It
agree.
really is.
Yes.
Borderlands started somewhere with somebody had a spark of an idea, sure.
Yeah.
But Borderlands 3 came because Borderlands 2 was very popular
Yeah.
and they could make money. Backbone came from somebody wanting to create a game and then playing their trumpet to scare away some raccoons. Like,
I love it.
those stories are so good about, or are exactly what make like indie gaming really fun. It's passion, it's personal experience.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support. If you're here at PAX, shout out to you. Shout out to us. Please let us know. We'd love to, if you're going to come back next year, we'd love to say hi to you, give you a high five. We appreciate when you guys like, share, comments, all that stuff as well. But PAX this year has been amazing, as it is every year. Thanks again for listening. And always remember, save games, save lives. Let's turn on the fans now.
Yes, please. See you next week.
Oh boy.